Hey there everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to be talking about Black Torch. Like I said before, I always wanted to talk about anime and manga, and I felt like Black Torch would be something to really talk about. It is 5 volumes and I'm probably going to be talking about each chapter individually. Each volume does have about 3 chapters in them. And this is a pretty good series by Tsuyoshi Takaki. I would highly recommend this guy because number one, his art style is really great, and he does have another series called Heart Gear, which I will also review as well. I'm also thinking of reviewing uh what's his name again? Oh man, this is embarrassing. Creative Naruto, what's his name again? Oh wow, I can't really remember his name. Kishimoto. There it is. Oh my god, that is pretty embarrassing. But Kishimoto has another series after Naruto. It was called. Oh man, I can't even remember this now. What was that series name? Anyways, we're gonna forget about that actually. Um. We'll cross that bridge when it gets there about reviewing other series. But today we're gonna be focusing on Black Torch. So without further ado, we're gonna get into the first chapter. The future is in our hands. So the story starts off with a younger version of our protagonist, and his name is Jiro. That is the protagonist's name, and he's sitting with his dog named Nachi. Now Nachi is, as Jiro says later on in the series, or later on in this chapter, Nachi is more of his grandmother, who gives him his moral compass, basically. So, moving on, we start off under a bridge with the protagonist beating on some thugs, and this is basically when you really read Black Torch, you see the references of Bleach and a bit of like Yu Yu Hakusho and I guess Naruto as well, but in this panel when he's beating on these thugs, you can see the Bleach reference of Ichigo fighting those thugs when he was going to save Chad. And so I just believe that was just paying homage to Bleach, but it's a really good scene, and we get to know that Jiro, our protagonist, can talk to animals. Standard anime. Well, not standard. It's just his little quirk. We find out what his quirk is. His quirk is just talk to animals. And so afterwards, he goes back home and he's greeted with his grandfather, and his grandfather just talks smack about him because he goes around picking fights when he should be home and doing other things, so he can live up to his Omaza. Omaza. I can't really pronounce his name correctly, but the Omaza name, practically his lineage. Okay. So afterwards, he kind of just cuts the door down, trying to attack him, and afterwards tells him he's going to go out later on, and he just has to make dinner for himself. Jiro responds, "Well, sure, whatever, why not?" But as Grandpa leaves, a crow comes by and it's like, "Hey, there's a cat who needs help." Jiro's like, "Okay, sure, let's go help this cat." So they run quite a long distance to get to this cat, and when Jiro sees this cat, it's a black cat. Okay, this cat's name is Rango. It's the dual antagonist to the series, and I guess I can tell you already. It's going to be Jiro's partner if you couldn't guess it already. So Jiro was like, "Oh man, this he's barely breathing. He needs help basically." So he takes him to his house, bandages him up. Rango thankfully wakes up, and Jiro is bringing him food. He introduces himself as Jiro, and Rango says, "Is this kid an idiot? There's no way he can understand me." And Jiro's like, "Oh, I can understand you. I can talk to animals." Rango's face is pretty in shock, which I really do like how Tsuyoshi does do his facial expressions. They're quite nice. Everything about Bleed, the characters forefront in the panels, they're really nice. I really do like this. Jiro does later on just he does say, "Hey, don't worry, don't be afraid. I am an ally. Nothing to be scared of, right?" And Rango does go on and say like, "Hey, I am a Mononoke. I am a ghost, an evil spirit, all those things." And so, Jiro doesn't really mind as much. He just smiles and like, "All right, no worries." Um, we do cut away and see a girl. We will be introduced to her later. I can't remember her name. I'm trying to do this. I haven't read this series in a long time. I'm trying to review this without talking about characters or spoiling things ahead of time. Which I know I did that with the dog Nachi, but it was a minor character. It's all right. Anyways, this girl kind of is looking for Rango. He's connecting back to her HQ, and just after that, just disappears. However, we get introduced to another character who was watching her in the shadows, well, behind some trees, basically, hearing about where Rango's whereabouts are. So afterwards, cutting back to Jiro and Rango, Jiro is giving Rango a bath and talks about Nachi, basically. And basically, Jiro talks about his life as a child when he was going to school and getting bullied a lot. And whenever Nachi would see this, Nachi would would ask if you can give me a shower. And every time Jiro would give him a shower, also give her a shower, Nachi would always be grateful, saying like, "Hey, just do me a favor. When someone else is in needs your help, I want you to help them," basically. And Rango is like, doesn't really say much until it comes to nighttime. When Jiro is sleeping, Rango wakes up, says, "Hey, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you this in person, but I gotta go now," basically. Of course, he's an evil spirit. He's gonna attract other evil spirits, basically. So as Rango leaves, he does note that, hey, his wounds haven't healed properly. But with that being said, Jiro just shows up right behind him and just sits on his front porch. Now this man basically has the flash step from Bleach, because man, that man was fast, even fast enough to scare this cat. So he's like, "Hey, what do you think you're doing? In that condition, you are in no condition of leaving outside of my care." And he's like, and Rango just replies back like, "What do you mean I'm in your debt? Basically, I didn't ask you to save me." Jiro gets offended by this because, he was trying to do a good deed, and, and Rango's just not appreciating that. Rango, on the other hand, says, "Hey, you gotta buzz off. If you don't, I am going to kill you," basically. And he starts having this little aura around him. And again, this is where I really like Takashi's artwork, because it's really nice. It's not really aura coming off of him. It's just like his fur is like expanding type, and it's like he is giving off aura, basically. And Rango does say, he's like, "Hey, you know what? Did you forget that Mononukes do eat humans? If you don't remember that, you're gonna regret even if you come close to me." So moving on, the guy that was stalking the girl, basically, a few pages back, he comes in, he's like, "Hey, do you mind if I cut in?" And Jiro's like, "Hey, who the hell are you?" This unknown dude is like, "Hey," he's like, "Hold it, a human? I'm gonna devour you." So of course he's a Mononoke. And Rango just disappears, basically. He probably did this just to save Jiro, because there's no way Jiro's gonna defeat a Mononoke. So after Rango disappears, this other Mononoke disappears, and Jiro's like, what the hell is going on here? And so it's this Mononoke versus Rango, and then they're out being sorry. This Mononoke is trying to chase Rango in this forest, basically. So as they're being chased, because I'm pretty sure because of his injuries, Rango's injuries, the Mononoke gets to him, and as he got to him, the Mononoke's okay, you gotta die. And as he says that, Jiro pops out of nowhere with his katana. Mind you, he is like an assassin, like a ninja type thing. And he's like, yo, like, saving someone is never stupid, right? Because, yeah, that's his moral compass, basically. And Rango's like, bro, you're about to get yourself killed. And this Mononoke goes on a full beast mode. And this thing, I'm not going to lie, is pretty terrifying. This thing looks like it's going to kill him, which it does. He gets his finger and kind of just... he gets behind him. The Mononoke gets behind Jiro and just sticks his finger right through his chest. Best way I can describe this is when Minato and... oh my god, what's her name? Kushina gets stabbed by the Kyuubi, basically, when they were sealing it into Naruto. So Jiro's laying down, practically dead. And Rango's like, bro, you know, you're pretty dumb. This was practically pointless of what you did trying to save me. But, you know, I'm in your favor because you saved my life. So my powers practically belong to you. And this is where Jiro gets the powers of the Mononoke. And when he does this, a big, huge aura kind of blows up. And the girl is talking to her boss and is like, hey, did you see that? I think that's where they're at. So with that being said, now it's the Mononoke versus Jiro. Now it's a fair fight. But this time, Jiro has the powers of Rango now. So they go at it. They just brawl it out up until Jiro kind of gets Rango's powers in his fist and blows the Mononoke's chest out. It just blows it out. And from there, the fight's over. The Mononoke is gone. And after that, that's when the girl shows up, kind of just points his blade to him. It's like, hey, you know, don't move, don't speak. Who are you? And the Chief Bureau of Espionage shows up, which is the girl's boss, with a bunch of soldiers, who kind of look like stormtroopers, but a little different, just a little different. And they have their guns pointed at him. He's like, hey, we're going to take you straight to custody. And what they do is, I believe they kind of just knock him out. And he's practically out for a while. So that's the end of chapter 1. It was a good start to the series. Tsuyoshi Takaki really did show off his drawing skills. Like, his illustrations are really nice, especially during this fight. Then again, yes, I would highly recommend you check this out. I will review chapter 2, The Choice is Yours, another time. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time.